Hello, Ery.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to Bayreuth and presenting the two films, Air Conditioner and Our Lady of the Chinese Shop. Angolan films are not so common, let's put it that way. There are not so many of them, but they are very, at least it seems that they are very particular also in their aesthetics and also in their storyline. Can you say something about your approach to filmmaking? Also because you are in a group, in a collective, Geração 80, Generation 80. So there are a lot of very, let's say, specific elements about filmmaking in Angola.
I don't know. First of
all, a lot
all,
of questions.
Thank you for being here, for the invitation. But talking about specific cinema in Angola, for me, is most difficult. I can talk more about the experience that I have been taking from working in this collective, Geração 80, because we, as many countries, Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, we had this colonial heritage, and we still have their influence in terms of co-productions. I think you can see the same in Francophone countries. And our cinema were basically built with this kind of influence, because most of the feature films that were made in Angola, they were made with French support or Portuguese support. Even the television was very imposed by Portuguese way of seeing and dealing with the aesthetics. But from now, I think that Geração 80 breaks a little bit, very much this rule, because we have cinema more oriented and to find our memories, our way of dealing with our own influences, our cinematic influences. So it's a group with different kind of approach. I have a more oriented approach in literature. For example, we have Fradik, they have more interesting in memories, documentary heritage of Angola. We have some people like Camila that are interested in dance, in folklore dance. So we have this different approach with a specific aesthetical, you know, because there are people that works in different kinds of art formats, and we deal with the same way with different artists, not only filmmakers. So I think these lots of reference are building what we call Geração 80 filmmaking. Now, talking again about Angolan cinema overall, I think that it's been building with, like music, with different approaches, because I see cinema as music with different genres. So in Angola, we have people who are doing something similar to occurred in Nigeria, with small budget films, very action oriented, very with very extravaganza in this kind of Hollywood imitation. We have a lot of people doing documentaries, very formal documentaries, but very important as well. And we still have this co-production approach with European countries. So we have different kinds of approach in cinema.
But what you just mentioned about that, you, for example, you think you come more from literature, and that filmmaking is also like music. Can you say maybe a little bit more about these two approaches?
I like to say this, comparing with music, because when most of people think about cinema, they think in one box. But when you talk about music, they will ask you, what genre of music? Is jazz? Is rock? But cinema, people do not make this question. When when you say cinema, they can put in overall, because, for example, when I tell my mother that I make cinema, she thinks that I'm making the cinema that she is supposed to think or is use it to see. This is what happens in institutions. They have a very limited way of seeing cinema. I like to say this because I observe every cinema that is being made in Angola, and they are different. You have cinema of Geração 80, cinema of different productions, because we have now Diamond Films, they have their way of making films. We have different production companies that they have specific way of making films, and they are very recognizable. Yeah.
Okay. But for example, the air conditioner, it would be difficult to say which kind of a film genre this is, because it seems to draw on a lot of different genres and to tell a very unique story.
For sure, but that's what they call, for example, in music, world music.
Okay, a fusion.
They put a fusion. So we represent this way of dealing that some of our musicians in Angola are put in this world music. So if it will be a genre, it will be this kind of approach. But it's very recognizable because not even in Angola, even internationally, they can identify Geração 80 film.
Okay. We had some exchange also with some students, and I think, especially there's a lot about metaphors and symbols also in both films, actually, in Air Conditioner and also in Our Lady of the Chinese Shop. So for you, is using symbols and metaphors is then part of the cinematographic language?
For sure. Basically, when I don't know much of some subject, I have to deal with some care, and I prefer to use symbols to assume a vision. So dealing with a complex structure like Luanda, I don't know much about Luanda, even if I'm born there. I prefer to use particular symbols for me to try to understand in a whole these kinds of environments that is like the city of Luanda, Angola, in terms of history, in terms of political structure, in terms of religion, but most important, in terms of surviving in this new metropole, this new city that is very new, but full of influences. And so I prefer to use symbols because I cannot assume a vision for this, because I don't have. So I prefer to understand small details that I have, that I consume, to make a whole view and try to create a puzzle that someday I will finish.
But then the air conditioner, for example, is then the symbol for what? It stands for different things.
In different symbols is like I said before, it's like a homage for the city that we grow up, but basically it's a symbolic feeling of getting our memories back, basically, because I see that we were born in a place, but we don't know that place. We don't have these kind of memories. And for me, even if it's not imposed in the photograph of the film, is a homage for this city. At the same time, I will to understand this city in terms of memory, in terms of try to pick up symbols that made who we are in that city.
Yeah, at least for the public in Bayreuth, for example, who come to Cineplex and expecting to see an Angolan film, and then the voiceover starts in Chinese. I think for many people it was really a big surprise. They weren't really prepared to that. So did you really, I mean, on purpose also play with this surprise moment and, I mean, but then to draw the public into an Angolan story? What were your objectives there, maybe?
I think when we are presenting something so unusual to the public have to understand as well that I had the same impact when the idea came in my mind. I was impactful as well. So I tried to understand why I having this idea. So this question gave me the film, because if you watch the society we are living now in Angola, you will understand better how this idea came from. And now, after finish the film, I cannot understand why we in Angola, we're not using more this question of the Chinese influence for the bad or for the good. But I don't know, we are talking always about different kinds of subjects, important subjects like the colonization and other subjects very important, but we have to deal with the present as well. We talk a lot about the past. I like to talk about the past, but we are forgetting that we have a present, specifically in Angola. We are dealing with different approaches, external approaches. I don't know what these kind of deals with government, with this kind of influence in terms of culture will how it will end. But I like to pay attention now because they are important, because they are the present. So I think it's a very important issue to know what kinds of deals we are dealing with China, and what can we make to we cannot take them out of Rwanda or out of Angola or out of Africa, of course, but we can communicate better with them. It's a provocation for a conversation as well. For us to remind them that there's a people living there with us, and we need to communicate. We need to share points of view in terms of culture, because they are imposing in terms of economics, politically, but not, for example, in terms of culture. We don't know not about each other. We don't share points of view in terms of culture. And one of the questions that I made in my film, one of the points, and we have similarities in points, starting points of conversation, in terms of language communication, in terms of this kind of approach. I think we have a good start a good point to start a conversation.
I mean, in a previous conversation, you also mentioned the proverbs, where you could build a bridge. Maybe you could elaborate on that again?
That's one of them, because
I found that very interesting.
Because was one of things that I found very similar, that nobody thinks about, is that we have ancient proverbs. They are very similar, the Chinese ancient proverbs. And some people from Angola that watch the film say, oh, these Chinese phrases, this blah blah blah, is so poetic or so magical or something. And I say, no, this is an Angolan proverb. So I mixed up different proverbs, some Angolan and some from north of Angola, Kikongo proverbs, and some from China. And both, they are very difficult to translate. So I have two struggles to translate in Chinese and to translate the Angolans. And none of them I understand the language. Because the Angola, they are in Kikongo. We don't know to talk, to speak Kikongo, most of Angolans. And we don't know to speak Mandarin as well.
Okay.
So we have even our language, in the Chinese language, no. And they are one of the most important parts of our culture is our oral tradition. And we do not touch, not even ours.
All right, thank you very much. It's nice to have this conversation with you once again.
Thank you, Adebanjo.
Now, the first question I would like to ask is about the film Air Conditioner. The main character was a security guard, Matasedo. And the question I would like to ask is, what informed your choice of choosing the security guard as Matasedo as your main character?
Okay, thank you, Adebanjo. It's a good question. Of course, I can answer your question, but let me tell you that I received this script from Fradik, that was the director. But I know that he had, firstly, idea to pay homage at these kinds of characters of Luanda. They are the security guards because they hanging between the building, the houses, but they don't talk too much. They don't interact with, not even with the bosses, not even with the people in general. So they act like oracles of these places, and at the same time, most of them, they are ex-soldiers, full of scars, physically and symbolically, and I think they have a lot to say because they saw much, and so it's a way to pay homage to these men. They fought for the country, but at the same time they continue to act like people. They are seeing the evolution of the places they are involved, but they cannot tell anything. They are like they are stuck. They cannot talk. I think was first the idea was like this, but the film in general, as I say before, is a homage to Luanda, to these buildings. Is a homage for ourselves at Geração 80. We put a lot of influences of the times that we grew up, the 18s and the early 19s. It's a homage to that period of time. It's basically a memory, a box of memories film.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that you talk about building, that will lead me to my next question. And I will now try to combine both films. In both films, you laid so much emphasis on buildings. For example, the building where the security guard was working, you showed us a whole lot of things there. The people living there, how they live, how they survive. And the street, you showed us a view of the street with some modern buildings and some other things. And now let's combine it with the other film, the Our Lady. You showed us a building where maybe the buildings used to be places full of life, full of a whole lot of activity, but now the buildings are in the shape of decay.
Exactly.
The buildings are leaking.
Exactly.
The buildings are in ruin.
Yeah.
Now, the question is this. Why this approach? That's the first question. Then the second is, are you trying to use this decay as a metaphor for the larger Angolan society?
Yes and no, but because I am stuck to that environment because I was born there in downtown Luanda. So this the nature that I know, this kind of environment. And at the same time, as you say, these buildings now, they are in decay, but they have a lot of stories. They are becoming like a slums, vertical slums. So they have a lot of people. Now they have poor people. They used to carry the middle class people, but the middle class people are lefty these buildings because we are building a new Luanda. Right? New Luanda. So we are divided these buildings that used to be from middle class now are for the poor people, but they still have these memories of not only the new Angolan middle class, but the colonial people as well. So they have a lot of memory. They are like living subjects because they are always changing. They've life, function like life structures. So they are very interesting. They are always changing, and they have the great matter of the Angolan society. So they have a very good environment to photograph, to understand the past, the present, and maybe the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that you mentioned the fact that these buildings carry memory, and they talk about the past, they are showing us the present, and there are ways we can also project into the future. That will lead me to my last question on the first film, Air Conditioner. And that will talk about the repairer shop, Mr. Mano.
Mr. Mino.
Mr. Mino. What is the significance of his shop? His shop the sequence showed us a lot of lights. We could see the radio, and we saw that he's just trying to fix things. Everywhere is so lit up. Can you tell us, and that we saw a lot of gadgets that were brought in for repairs and they've been there forever. What can you tell us about the repairer shop in the context of the Angolan society?
This character actually exists in different places of Luanda, but specifically in this repair store, it existed as well. But of course we had to fictionalize with a professional actor, but nothing changed. We only changed the actor. We didn't change the store. The store exists right now in Luanda. And if you go right now, you will find our old man stuck in this labor of pretend that he's repairing something. And this is another good metaphor for Luanda. It is at the same time the city is changing very quickly, but the mindset, most of people, there are a lot of people stuck in. The people are changing, or the city is changing in the structure, the new structure, because we are creating new cities, or we are expanding Luanda, creating new places, but there are places in downtown, in the old Luanda, they're still the same. They still keep the same ambience. And at the same time, this store represents, at some point, our alter ego, of me, Fradik, because the preoccupations that Mr. Mino have, we have as well, because I think he's a madman that he wants to preserve the memories of the place he lives in. And I think my main quest is to preserve the memories of my place, because they are gone. We have to pick up them again. We are chasing our memories. I think overall, talking personally as a filmmaker, my quest is this: is to pursue our memories.
Okay, thank you very much. And now the next question will be from Our Lady. In the film, there was a prominence of the statue of Virgin Mary. It was both sacred, like a religion, and also commercial. Mm-hmm. And we saw that you portrayed the Angolan society having a Chinese influence. Could you tell us more about the role religion plays, and what are you trying to portray to us using the statues of the Virgin Mary as a character in that movie?
Well, the first thing is I try to understand what impact these Chinese influence have in our country for long terms, no? Because they are involved most of on economics, no? They are making deals, closed door deals with government. People in general didn't know what is in cause, what they're giving to Chinese, what kind of the measure of these deals, and we know that Chinese are imposed in our country like commerciants, as they are very good in that, and they sell everything, inclusive religion, subjects, or materials, objects, including this Our Lady. But one thing can I tell you is the first title that I have in mind for my film was Plastic Holy Mary, because the plastic is not only because the product, the figure is made of plastic that is very malleable, but at the same time is not a strong influence or imposition as it was with the religion, Catholic religion in Angola, because the Chinese at the same time they are selling this product, they have nothing to do with this religion. They just sell, but they sell something that is very, very special for us and Angolans, and was the main reason for us to be colonized. So it's a very important symbol, because we were colonized by this symbol, because when the religions, the Portuguese started imposing the religion, that's why we were baptized, we lost our names, we lost our land. And now they are using somehow the same symbol. So my question is for us to pay attention to this new influence, because I don't know what will become, where we're gonna be, but it's just to pay attention for our country now.
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe this will be like my very last question on this aspect of religion. The character of Dominguez. She has a leaking house, she lost her daughter, and at some point, a friend told her that, oh, the house has been haunted, we need to see a spiritualist. And when they got to the spiritualist, we could still see the image of the Virgin Mary, but however, there were some rituals performed on her. Could you tell us what the symbol, the symbolism of mixing mixing Catholicism with tradition at that time? Could you tell us why you chose that?
I didn't choose. It is what it is, because when you have a colonized people, it turns to be a very complex society. Yeah, because there are a lot of influence, and you have to deal with foreign religions. We have to deal with communication, because it makes me confusion, because we didn't notice when we are praying for this figure that is white. Mm-hmm. The Holy Mary, the Our Lady, is white. Yeah. And one thing that is very costs much for us Africans and blacks, and we are preaching for a white figure. And this tells a lot about how we see our representation for the divine. But at the same time, we found a way at that point, the Catholic Church wasn't that smart, but now the Evangelical Church, they permit us to mix with our traditional customs. But our traditional customs, we call it witchcraft. It's not good. We have to deal with this secretly. Okay. So people still invest in traditional customs, but secretly.
Okay.
You cannot say that you use a traditional way of praying or way of dealing with medicine.
Openly, yeah.
You're dealing with this secretly. We still do that, but at the same time, this conflicts with the religion, and people feel sometimes very traumatized, ashamed of to show they use this practice. Their traditional practice, they feel ashamed to show. So it's very complex. And I wanted to show a film that we deal with this complexity, because if you made part of a occidental religion in Angola, and they know that you use traditional customs, maybe they can put you out of the church, for example. Okay. So it's very difficult, because we have to deal with these different, some mix of
And please permit me to ask the last question before I allow you to take your leave. At the end of the movie, when the young boy, what's his name? Zoyo, threw fire into the shop and the shop started burning, the statue of the Virgin Mary turned black.
Yeah.
What was your message? What is your message for that?
I think it's literally like this, because it is what I say in the previous question. We need to find a new version for us of the religion. Yeah, because if the Europeans turned this Middle East figure into white, Scandinavian, white, we can turn or create a better version for us of the religion. Then we can put, for example, our language, our customs, and still pray for our sacred figures. We have different figures, Yemanja, we have Kianda, we have our own sacred figures, and we can, as they made, we can, with no shame at all, create our better version, a better version for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be always dominated, because in the film is very horrendous per se, because you have this Scandinavian figure created originally in Middle East, selling by a Chinese for black people. Yeah, it's very complex.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank you very much for coming to Bayreuth, and I want to appreciate you on behalf of African Multiple Cluster of Excellence for granting us this opportunity to meet you, not just to meet you, but to also watch your film. And not just watching your film, you also gave us time, and you took your time to answer our questions, and we want to appreciate you for coming. And on this special occasion, we want to congratulate the country of Angola and say happy 50th Independence anniversary, and we hope to see you some other time. Thank you very much for coming.
Hope to come back very soon with new films. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, thank you.